All right, folks, thanks for being here. We'll open up today's press conference. Tom Tiberi, WBNS.
Coach, with Tennessee coming, first time ever, December 12th, the game in there. What's the message to the fans, and what do you guys need from them? Because this is kind of, the CFP is going to do what they're going to do, but what's your message to the fans?
Well, I'm excited for our players, but I'm excited for our fans to get back together this Saturday in the shoe for an historic event like we talked about last time. This is a, right now the first time it's ever happened before, and I think for everyone to get back together is exciting. And I know our players are that way. We had our senior tackle yesterday, and to listen to these guys get up there and talk about how much they love this university, they love their teammates, they love this program, and then to spend some time with the parents and talk to them about their sons and the work and the sacrifice they've made. And it was a great day to spend time with our seniors and what they put in. And so for them to get an opportunity to play at home in something like this is great. And but it just is exciting for our fans. And just like our players, the fans are invested in this in a big way. And so it's going to be an exciting day, or exciting night, 8:00 kickoff. And this week of work for us is going to just continue to build to Saturday.
Bill Landis, Kings of the North.
Ryan, you've remarked a couple of times that you made a decision at some point in the offseason to huddle, play like a little bit more deliberately, I guess, than maybe you guys have in the past. Why was that ultimately the path you guys wanted to take? And with 12 games of data now, do you feel like you got what you wanted out of that?
Yeah, from the beginning of the season, the idea was that this is a new era. This is a new season for us. Obviously with the number of games that we've been in, and also with the addition of coach-to-player communication. There's just, there's different things that come in schematically that way, but also the number of plays came down. I think the other thing too about the huddle, which was significant this year for us, was just getting everybody together and having Will be in the huddle and look everybody in the eye, talk to him about the down and distance, talk to him about what happened on the last play, and bring everybody together, the offensive line talking together, the receivers, and that's important. It really is. It's kind of something we've almost lost when you're in a no huddle situation. You can find yourself almost on your own. And, having Seth in the huddle at times this year was great. And so that's been a big part of it. Mixing in, the no huddle part of it as a change of pace certainly does change the tempo and can be an advantage. And so we'll certainly, make sure that's part of our plan as we head into the playoffs. It has been this year as well. We've used both of them. But I think with the change of pace in terms of, the clock stopping after, first downs really only happening inside of 2 minutes now, the games go faster. And so it's a lot more focus on efficiency. And, we're going to play against a team that's going to play fast here on Saturday night. So, we know what we need to do, defensively in terms of getting lined up, and they're going to challenge us. And, they're a very good team. I give Tennessee a lot of credit. They're well coached and they have a great attack. And so, we have to do a great job of getting lined up in those situations. But I think for us, we've found a good rhythm with that. I think it's allowed us to be more efficient. But there's also times when we need to speed it up to put more stress on the defense.
Guys, we're going to need to stick to just one and done questions just because we're on a little bit of a time schedule with all the other players and coordinator coming. Let's go with Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Ryan, with the portal now going on, how difficult is it to put a roster together while also preparing for a playoff? And how much of your daily hours are put into the portal right now, keeping your team together and bringing in new players?
Well, the number one focus is Tennessee right now, but as you know, you can't just live in a vacuum, and we have to plan for the future. And the fact that these players having to make a decision right now, knowing that the playoffs haven't even started yet, is very difficult on them. It's difficult on us. That's just the way it is. You're asking kids to make decisions on their future, yet they still want to be with their team and play in the playoffs. And their teammates who are seniors are relying on them to still be part of the team. So, all challenges for us, but I think we're handling it well. I think that we have a group of guys that want to be together and understand what's ahead of us. For the staff, we're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that we're retaining the players and providing them with what they need, and then also making sure that if there are some things in the portal that we need to fill holes with, we'll do that. And there's some good players out there, but the number one focus right now is beating Tennessee.
Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, what's the plan on the offensive line? You alluded, when we talked to you 2 weeks ago, there might be some changes there. Any changes forthcoming?
Luke Montgomery's got some reps at guard, and so you're probably going to see him at guard some this game. We'll see how this week goes, but Austin will be rotating in there as well with Tegra. So that'll be the plan now. We still have a whole week of preparation, and things can change, as of tomorrow, when we get on the field. But the plan right now would be to rotate those guys.
Dan Hope, Lettermen Warriors.
Yeah, with Devin announcing that he's going to enter the portal, is he still your backup quarterback for this game? Is Julian pushed for that job at all?
So Julian's getting a lot of reps in there, but Devin right now is the backup quarterback, but Julian's right there, and he needs to continue to push in that area, and you just never know how this thing's all going to shake out. There's a lot of football ahead of us, and so we'll need all those guys. And I give Devin credit; he wants to finish this thing out the right way, but he also wants to see what other options are available for his future. And I think it's not an easy thing for him to do, but I give him credit for wanting to finish this thing out the right way.
Spencer Holbrook, Lettermen Row.
Yeah, with Luke, what did you guys see in him that maybe you didn't see after the Simmons injury and then after Seth's injury that made you guys think like, okay, he can go play in a college playoff game?
Well, I think after the Penn State game, we got a lot of confidence coming out of that game with Carson playing guard. He really stepped in and did some great things. You don't always know what you're going to get until you get into those game scenarios, as you know. And then when Seth went down, we went back to Austin because, he gave us the most experience, at least coming in from the first few games when Donovan went down. And Luke was still coming on. He was getting better, but we just felt at the time that was the right move. And, there was some good plays and some not so good plays coming out of the Indiana game. And then after assessing the last game, we feel like, Luke deserves an opportunity. And I don't know if it's, that he's done that much more than maybe he's done in the past, but he was close anyways. And so now it's about time to give him an opportunity.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Just follow up on that. Let's use the word experience. You used that when you chose Carson against Penn State as well. Is it easier to not go with the guy who's been through it before when you've got 3 or 4 weeks to prepare for a game versus a week-by-week basis?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, exactly. The more reps you get at a concept or a play allows somebody who's in that role to adapt quicker to some of the things they may see in the game and have a better handle on the game plan.
Over to the right, Dave Holmes, WSYX.
I know the media schedule you're doing more this week. I've noticed. I think that's CFP regulated. I'm just curious, is there anything else different about hosting a playoff game that you've noticed logistically than just a standard game at the Shoe this week?
No, I think, we're staying on the same routine that we've been on. We're going to still use some of our playoff experiences to use as a reference for this game. But when you look at it, first off, it's a quick turnaround. There was a week where, you're in limbo, and then on Sunday you find out you're playing Tennessee. You have 1 week, and now you're in the game week. And so what we try to do is continue to stay on the game week routine. I think that's the way to go. When you play in a bowl and you have a lot more time off, then it's different. You get some of the young guys work, some of the older guys spend a couple of weeks resting, working on Indy, but not getting as many reps. This, we pretty much stayed on a game routine, and we did that last week. We had our Sunday, today's our off day, and Tuesday will be a normal Tuesday for us. So it's been pretty much like a game week for us, and we're going to keep it that way.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
I just to quickly clarify on Luke, has he been repping at left and right, and that rotation would include repping both of those guys?
He's been mostly getting reps at left, but he will have an opportunity to get reps at right as well.
And the guys who went in the portal last week, other than Devin, Gabe, and some of those guys, what is their status as far as being on the roster for the playoff?
Yep. So Gabe will not be on the roster, and then who else?
Jaden and
Koj will be, Jaden will not be.
Adam King, WBNS.
I know that you never just want to force feed wide receivers. You want the offense to develop and do what it can. But when you see the target share that maybe guys like Emeka and Jeremiah have taken a little bit of a decline there at the end of the year, how do you go about balancing getting them the ball but making sure you're not forcing it?
Yeah, I think, you got to learn coming out of the season on, what where you've been. I think that the team that we started with at the beginning of the season, where we were in the middle of the season and where we are now are all three different areas for different reasons. And the bottom line is when you look at where we are right now, we've got to make sure that we're maximizing our strengths and minimizing our weaknesses or deficiencies. And that we all have to take accountability to do our job. Like those are the areas that, we got to focus on. Now, what does that mean schematically? I don't really want to get into that, but that's the bottom line. And, we are in a different place when you think about where our offense was at the beginning of the year, the middle of the season, and now it's different. Same thing with our defense. What we thought going into the season, mid-season, and now you can see that we've changed. Now, it hasn't been drastic, but enough. And I think that's the most important thing. So, yeah, we got to make sure that we're getting our best players the ball. But that's what when I'm talking about, maximizing our strengths, we got to be able to do that. And that's very important in this game.
Austin Ward, podcast.
Ryan, did you all feel like Will was limited at all in the second half against Michigan? And I don't know how specific you would get into that, but how has he responded since then?
He's doing great. He's had a good couple weeks of practice. He's ready to go. I know he wants to, just like all of us, move on and focus on Tennessee. There's certainly plays that, he'll want to have back in that game. But one thing about Will is, he's got a very positive mindset and he's very resilient. And you can see he's got a bounce in his step right now. He wants to get back on the field as fast as he possibly can. You can see that. And, he wants to lead this offense. And it's going to be a very important part of this game on Saturday night is his leadership. And he'll be ready to go.
Cameron T. Robinson, The Athletic.
Ryan, I know 2022 is a little different. Obviously, you were a play caller. Obviously, you lost that game in Georgia, but it seemed like that game, after losing to Michigan, you guys played a little more free, a little more loose. What can you take away from the lead up to that game and apply with this group and the lead off from Michigan losses to that?
Yeah, I think there was guys who were part of that game on the team and part of being in the playoffs. So they know what it's like to play in the playoffs, which is great. There's a bunch of guys in the room that don't. I think for us to recognize that, once you get into the playoffs, it's a brand new start. And I think that's what our guys have recognized now. The fact that, they've earned the opportunity to play in the playoffs. That's it. We have 2 top 5 victories, and we have 10 wins. And there's a lot of teams across the country that aren't in the playoffs. So the bottom line is like, we are in the playoffs and, every team is going to have their issues and deficiencies, and the teams that can address those the best are going to win this thing. And that's it. It's a new era. It's a different time. And I think our guys recognize that. And I think, the guys, especially who played in that game, also realize that, no matter how the season ends, like that game is coming and you got to learn from it and grow from it and go from there. And sometimes you can be really, really close to something and not realize it. And what you have to do is just keep pushing forward and keep rolling and keep going. And that's been the message to our guys.
Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, you talked about the tempo of Tennessee a little bit, but when you're facing a team that moves as quickly as they do, how does that impact everything you guys are doing? I imagine it affects both sides of the ball a little bit. What impact does that have on you guys?
Well, Chip was one of the first to ever do this, and I was his quarterback. So we were laughing about that the other day, and it's kind of gone full circle. And the idea of their offense, first off, they're very, very well coached, and they have a very, very good plan in what they do. And they play physical, and they run the ball up inside. But when you're going no huddle, the first thing they want you to do is they want you to not get aligned, and they want you to not communicate well. They want to stretch you horizontally. They want to stretch you vertically, get you in space. And then, obviously not run to the ball and, get tired and those type of things and play undisciplined. I mean, that's the whole idea of it. And that, they're going to be in better shape than you are at the end of the day. So, we know that what that style is, we know what the philosophy is, but it doesn't make it easy. It's like playing an option team, you don't really understand it till you're playing against it. So we've had a couple of weeks to prepare for this. I think the preparation's been good. I think Jim's plan is excellent going in. And I think that our scout teams have done a good job. We've been doing some good on good work to try to press our guys and make sure they understand how stressful it is to play against this style. But, ultimately it's still going to come down to taking on blocks, defeating blocks, and tackling in space.
Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
On Selection Sunday, you talked about wanting your team to play free and without fear of consequence. And I'm guessing as a head coach, that falls largely on you to facilitate that. How have you been different? Obviously, your team didn't play. There was nothing free and easy about them in that Michigan game. How have you facilitated that? How have you changed your approach to this game compared to that?
Again, like the fans, like the university, like our players, the coaches, myself, like we are all invested in this thing in a big, big way. And, I wish some of you guys could have, seen our senior tackle yesterday just to see how much these players care, how much these coaches care. And, you, as the season goes on, you continue to build and grow and you just build this brotherhood together and you're invested in each other. And so, when you win a game, it's thrilling. When you lose a game, it can be heartbreaking. And we understand that. And we're not going to apologize for that because we care a lot. And we know what it means to Ohio State to win football games around here. We understand what that game means. But ultimately, that's behind us. And you learn from it and then you move on and that's it. Because, it doesn't do us any good moving, backwards. So that's it. The focus is on Tennessee. You grow, you build. And I think this team is prepared to go play in this playoffs. I don't know the other teams. There's great teams out there, but I know this team and I know what they're made of. And they're resilient and they're tough and they're mature. And again, they care a lot about Ohio State. They care about this team, this university, just like the coaching staff and myself. And we're going to play our tails off on Saturday night.
Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, Ryan, along those lines, you're dealing with 18, 19-year-old kids. That's got to be one of the challenges of coaching is keeping them up and buoyant, although you said they're very mature. Is it almost good that you have some distance between a really tough loss and this game that you kind of recover, I guess?
Well, when you it's like 1 week, okay, that's one thing, a month, there's another challenge with that. 3 weeks is kind of the sweet spot. It allowed us the week to sort through, the issues and get them addressed, take accountability. Because that's the big part of that. Like nothing matters if the problems aren't fixed and then we don't make adjustments. That's what it comes down to. And then the recognition that, okay, we're in the playoffs now. Like that game's behind us. The game is never going to change. It's never going to change here at Ohio State. However, like the playoffs have, the expanded playoffs have, the format has. This is very different than it's been in the past. So, all right, we're in this thing. And now we got 2 weeks to prepare. So I think that part's been good. And that's kind of been the layout.
Jake Trotter, ESPN.
Yeah, Ryan, off what you just said, with the veteran group you have, how challenging has it been to get this team ready to go for the playoff after such an emotionally tough loss, with the pressure, if it's even possible, even more amplified now?
Well, I think as a group, everybody leaned on each other and pushed each other. And I think when you look at the guys in this program, you see great guys. You see first off, you see great players, but you see great men, mature men. We have 29 seniors the other day who spoke at senior tackle. And I just couldn't be any prouder of the type of guys that these men are. And they understand. They understand what's at stake. They understand when they come here, the high expectations of what's expected. But they also know what's in front of them. And, like anything else, once you identify it and you move on, I mean, that's life, and there's going to be ups and downs. And several of our seniors talked yesterday at the senior tackle about the ebbs and flows of life, and when things are really good, you got to enjoy them. When things aren't, you got to hang on and continue to get them fixed. And then eventually you're going to get them back on track. And and that is life, and life is a fight. So, when you have a mature group like this, is it easy? No, it's not easy, but it certainly helps to have a great group. And we had a really good week of practice last week with great energy, and we're going to have another great week this week.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
We're going to talk to Chip after we talk to you. What kind of discussions did you have with him about the game plan against Michigan and how you learn from that and move forward? Because, as you said, maximize what you have and mask your deficiencies. We all know what those are. What kind of conversation did you have with Chip, and how much kind of soul searching do you think he has done about that game?
Well, I think there's two things. I think one, again, we have to maximize our personnel. We've talked about that. I think the second thing is, in some of these games moving forward, just like in this last game, I think we were only 33% or 32%. It might even been a little bit less, but it was right around 30% of our total snaps were what we call CNN, situation normal, which means first and second down in the middle of the field. There was coming out situations, there was 2-minute situations, there was third down situations, there was red zone situations. And, I don't think we did a very good job in those situations. And we talk about situations a lot. We had a turnover in coming out. We had 5 opportunities in a red zone. We only had 10 points. And I didn't think we were particularly good on third down. And so we've got to do a better job in those situations. I think that is very, very important. Now, in those situations, schematically, how do we want to attack a defense? I think that's good conversation. We are a different offense than we were, 3 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, and at the beginning of the season. I think we need to recognize that. But that's not just the only thing here. There was a lot that went into that game, and we got to make sure we're playing good situational football.
At 40, Sports Illustrated.
Ryan, you've had a couple of really good semifinal performances in the playoffs against Clemson and even the loss to Georgia. Is there anything about the experience of getting ready for that you can channel into getting ready for this?
I think so. I think when you're getting ready for a game like this, the preparation is critical. I think you got to do a great job identifying your strengths versus them. And like normal in these situations, you're going against an opponent that you don't typically see. It's a team from another conference that, isn't something that you're used to seeing. So you don't always know, how does this team play, or what is the competition like when, it's not apples to apples. So I think you have to do a great job of predicting that and making sure that you put your guys in the best position to be successful. And also making sure that you're doing enough things that and enough change-ups along the way to create, plays for your team. And so I think that's very, very important. I think it's important early in the game to have some confidence, to get some early wins to build confidence in the game. This one will be different though, because it's at home. So, I think we've talked to our team about that part of it. And I think, we have enough guys in the program that have been in this environment before. So there is a reference point.
And final question for Coach Tim May, Lettermen Row.
You only get one, right? There's like 3. Several coaches around the country now donating, I don't know if that's the correct term, donating back some of their salaries in millions of dollars and stuff. And number one, would you be interested in that? And number 2, do you see that as sort of a trend in major college football moving forward with the revenue sharing coming and all this stuff?
I mean, I've just been focused on this game right here. But I can tell you that there's always different things that everyone's trying to look at to figure out how to raise money for NIL right now. There's no question. And I know it's a daily conversation here at Ohio State to try to figure out how do we best provide those opportunities for our players. I mean, that's the bottom line, because as we talk about recruiting right now, whether it's high school players or in the portal, it's just a major part of the discussion. And, everybody usually starts with, well, NIL is not the number one thing, but it quickly gets to that. That's life. And the numbers that people are talking about nowadays is very important that, we're on the cutting edge of that here at Ohio State. And, those numbers right now only seem to be going up. I know that with the revenue share, there's a plan to put a cap on this. But right now, those numbers seem to be going up. And, So we're always looking to find ways to raise more money.
Yeah, I didn't mean to hit you sideways with that. Let me ask one thing. The fact that your team played in a cold weather game against Michigan and stuff, does it give you a little bit of a head start on what's coming on Saturday with temperatures in the 20s and dropping? I mean, that takes a little getting used to, no matter if you live up north.
It does, yeah. And being outside last week and practicing outside and acclimating to the weather, it makes a big difference. We'll be out there today, and it's like playing in the playoffs. Talk to them about being in Kansas City or up in Lambeau or Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship game. I mean, that's what it's all about is playing these types of games in December. Not that maybe growing up they thought that this is what it would look like in college football, but here we are, and our guys are excited about it and excited about being at home, and I think they're excited about the weather too because we've been practicing it now for a few weeks.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay,
Thanks
you
very
guys.
much.
Yep.
Forward the new CFP, please. All right, if we can lower or go back to our inside voices and open up the floor for trade. Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
TreVeyon, you guys obviously came in as a class with so much hype, and you haven't been able to accomplish any of those team goals yet. How much do you just feel as a senior responsibility to make a run here and try to accomplish one of those goals before your career ends?
Man, I'm thankful for the wins and the losses. The good times and the hard times as well. I truly believe just the hard times, it humbled us. Not just as a team, but as people. And it also helped us to see what's truly important. And I believe what's truly matters is Jesus Christ. And so I truly believe just God using those losses, God using those hard times to humble us and help us to see him. I truly am thankful for that. But I'm also thankful for this opportunity that God has given us to make a run, for a national championship. And we have a great opponent coming up, Tennessee, and it's going to be an amazing game. They're a really good team, and it's going to be an amazing game. And so, that's what we're focused on, and we truly are just thankful, man, for this opportunity, man, to win the big thing.
Deep left, Katie Kapusta, Spectrum Wow.
Kind of going off of that, Trey, you guys weren't able to beat Michigan in what you thought would be your final game here with the shoe. You have one last chance to end on the right note here. What does that mean for you and your senior class?
It means a lot. The guys on this team, the leaders on this team, we definitely want to finish this thing off the right way. And so, our focus is on Tennessee, not looking behind us, but looking forward. And, we're looking forward to giving everything we got, for the glory of the Lord and for each other, for the love of each other. And so.
Austin Ward, the podcast.
Trey, what was senior tackle like for you?
It was a special moment. Hearing all the seniors being able to share their piece, and also just reflecting, on times, I was once on the bench, listening to the other guys, speak, and being one of those guys who speak now, and being able to drop a little nugget, to the guys. It truly was a special moment.
Tim May, Lettermen Row.
Thank you, Jerry. You guys offensively, TreVeyon, if y'all sat around and talked about, like, for want of another term, the last time y'all played, it wasn't good enough. You understand what I'm saying?
It wasn't.
Well, what is that inspiration, whatever, if y'all found that, you think, in the last couple of weeks?
I definitely think we've definitely found that and been working on that. Last week's, time all messed up. But last game, it wasn't our best performance offensively. And so, the coaches, the players, truly been doing a good job, man, of trying to get better. And I definitely do believe that we have a good plan going into this next game.
Yeah, especially in the run game wasn't good enough, right? I mean, that hits you in Quinshon where it hurts, right?
Yeah, we knew what we were up against. The record doesn't show how good those guys are, but we knew it was going to be a battle. And so those guys have some really talented players. But the biggest thing is just not looking behind us, continue to move forward, man, and trying to focus on Tennessee and, be the best offense we can be, in that game.
Over to the right here, Kellyanne Stitz, WSYX.
Hey Trey, Tennessee comes to town with a really good defensive line. What have you seen from your guys' offensive line that gives you confidence that they can handle Tennessee's defensive front?
I really love how those guys are leaning on each other during this time. We sometimes we have good games, sometimes we have bad games, but I just think through it all, true love is truly shown when we stick together through those times, even through those bad times. And I truly seen that, in those guys, leaning on each other, sticking with each other, uplifting each other, coming to practice, working hard each and every day as they've been doing. And so, man, I truly am proud of those guys, and I love those guys, man. They put in so much work behind the scenes that people can't see, and they play a really tough position. And I truly believe those guys, man. I trust those guys, and I know they're going to get the job done.
Andrew Gillis, Cleveland.com.
Trey, with Tennessee's defensive line specifically, what stands out about them when you watch them on film? I mean, they're one of the best run defenses in the country. Is there anything you see that kind of makes them that unit and that level special?
Yeah, they got some really good players on their defensive line. They're really special, really talented. They play hard, run to the ball, and so I definitely think this is going to be a really competitive game. And so, man, we love that here. That's why we come here to Ohio State, man, to compete against the best. And I definitely do believe this upcoming game will be competing against the best. And so,
A couple more questions for Trey. Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Trey, sometimes after a really tough loss like the last one, offense and defense can get heated at each other. How much was the brotherhood? Was the brotherhood tested during that? And did it galvanize, if it happened, did it galvanize you guys into a better place?
Yes. That's always going to be testing that God allows us to go through and has planned for us to go through. And I believe this was part of it, having that loss, this was part of it. And man, what was so powerful, man, is when we came together as a team. And everyone was able to really pour out their hearts and just encourage and motivate each other. And at the end, we all finished with a prayer. And so that moment right there was so powerful as a team. And I'm just so amazed, that happened, that we were able to come together and all just pray together and lock arms, man, and move forward. And so, yeah, I'm excited, man, to continue to play alongside, with this team, man.
Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Trey, we just talked to Ryan. You said you guys are looking forward to playing in the cold. Would you agree with that? And how much ownership do you take of that with you being part of the running game?
Yeah, we're looking forward to that, man. Coach Day, they definitely been pushing us outside of our comfort zone and making us practice outside, to get accustomed to that weather. That's kind of what we've been doing, throughout the weeks anyways. And so, yeah, man, the guys, we truly are getting used to it, and we'll be prepared for that for sure. The coaches, they're doing a good job of preparing us for that.
What's the hardest part for you as a running back dealing with the cold?
The hardest part as a running back dealing with the cold. Shoot, you get used to it over time. And so, honestly, yeah, you get used to it. I don't even know, to be honest. I haven't even thought about that. So, good question.
And one final question for Trey. Steve Hellwagen, 24/7 Sports.
Trey, just going back to the last game, was there frustration when you guys kept pounding it inside and there just wasn't anything there? Just what's kind of going through your mind? And they get you on a screen pass and you go for 20 yards and they, for whatever reason, didn't go back to that, didn't get the ball out on the perimeter. Just, is there hope for more of that in this game, I guess?
I'll say, we trust the coaches. They're in this position for a reason. And so whatever call they make, we just try to give it everything we got, to execute that play. And sometimes we fall short, sometimes we fall short of doing so. But the biggest thing, man, is like we trust the coaches. We trust what they're doing. We trust it, whatever happened, they're going to get it fixed. And so, yeah, we have a lot of faith, man, in the coaches on the field that, they're going to put us in the best position to make plays.
TreVeyon, thank you very much.
Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Trey. All right, we'll open up the floor for Donovan. Second row right, Steven Means, Cleveland.com.
You've been playing left tackle for about a month and a half now, so you're probably used to it. But when you rewatch the film from the Penn State game, going up against a guy like Abdul, what did you learn about yourself in that game, and what did you take from it?
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of my sets in that game, I found myself panicking. You see a guy of that caliber lined up in like a wide nine, you're like, oh, I got to put my hands on him, but that's not how tackle works. If they're in a wide nine, they want you to jump out there because they're better athletes than you. So jumping out there was not good. I'd rather set to the spot, let them come to me, and go to work at the spot. Coach Fry teach the fights. The fight starts at the spot. The spot is where the rush and the set meet. So during that game, a lot of times, first it was on the silent count. So at guard, I can literally look at the ball and get off that tackle. I can't look at the ball, or like I have to like watch Seth's head move. So that's a whole nother thing for me. But then also like getting to the spot against a rusher like that.
Probably the most an ideal way to start your career as a left tackle in that situation, right? I mean, but do you feel more comfortable now going into another game where you're playing another guy of that caliber?
Yeah, I mean, it just comes with reps. That was probably a week's notice trying to play tackle, but over the weeks, I feel more comfortable in what I'm doing. I feel a lot more stronger than what I'm doing. And so it just comes with reps, comes with confidence. And so just continuing to get reps to obviously a great front we're going against this week. So just preparing the best I can.
Third row left, Andy Anders, 11 Warriors.
Ryan Day was just talking about how Luke Montgomery's kind of shown some things and might mix in at guard here in the playoff. Just what have you seen out of him over the course of the season, and where has he grown?
Yeah, I would say Luke's made a good step in his development. I feel like he's taking a step in the right direction where we're all kind of waiting for him to take that step. And, he's had a couple more reps available to him, and he's taking advantage of it. And he has done a great job so far in putting the best stuff he can on the practice field to give not just himself confidence, but the guys on the line confidence, because, we're running thin on the O-line. So just any guys can step up, step up. That's what we're looking for.
Fourth row middle, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Donovan, in that vein, obviously some different guys doing things at guard. I know you were obviously focused on being a tackle, but how much ownership do you take on trying to get some of those guys ready for what will be obviously a tough challenge, not only this game, but potentially down the road?
Yeah, everything with the guards, I try to give my input to, because, for really three years, I played that position. And so I was like, look, like what you're doing is not working this way. You got to do it this way, because I've had experience doing against next to really good tackles and playing at a really high level at guard. I was like, I can help you out with this because I know what it's like. Or taking my experience of playing next to Paris, I was like, this is what I did with him, and we got to be on the same page in terms of double teams, because if we're not on the same page, then that's how we get split, and that's how we work against each other, and there's no movement. So trying to get on the same page with the guys playing next to me and the guys on the other side of the line to try to perform at the highest level.
Fifth row right, Cameron T. Robinson, The Athletic.
Donovan, I know 2022 didn't necessarily go you guys' way in people, but after that Michigan loss, it seemed like going to that game, you guys were playing a lot more free, a lot more loose. What experiences can you take from that lead up to this lead up to obviously you want to win this game, but just to play free, play a little more loose in this game?
Yeah, I mean, playing free and playing loose is a lot better than playing uptight. We're just focused on playing as fast as possible. Our coaches put us in the right position to do so. So it's our job to execute it. In terms of what happened, was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago. I can't really speak on that now because I'm worried about what's happening now. But it's just playing with the brothers next to you, playing for the man next to you, and not trying to let him down rather than your own selfish success is what we're all aiming for.
Right in front of him, Stefan Krajcik, Cleveland.com.
Seth is a guy who's had playoff experience. He's also probably studied this Tennessee team in years past, maybe more so than anyone that you know. I mean, how much kind of as a coach now has he been able to help out these last few weeks, whether it be Michigan week or now leading up to Tennessee?
Yeah, he helps out as much as he can. He's always here. Maybe not in the outdoor practices. He doesn't really go out to those, but the indoor ones, and obviously in meeting rooms, he's a really insightful person. He's always helping out Carson, always helping out the guards, because you're right. He's played against this team many times, being at his former institution. But he's just given us insight on what we need to do to compete at the highest level against this D line, because obviously they're a great group, and then just helping us improve as best he can. So, he's still just as involved as he was before the incident happened. He's just trying to give back as much as he can.
Second row right, Bill Landis, Kings of the North.
Donovan, we saw Luke play center some in camp. I know he's played some tackle. He's even played some jumbo tight end. What, in your mind, would make him a good guard for you guys?
I mean, all of that is just versatility. I feel like Luke is versatile enough to plug and play anywhere we need him to be, and he's had some great success at guard in the past couple of practices. But he's shown a great ability to anchor and being able to. He's been playing stronger, in my opinion, so he's developing in the right direction. But like I said, we just need everybody to step up at this point, because even the younger guys, we need them to have the mindset of that they could play at any time, because it's unfortunate what's happening, but we need everybody to be able to go.
Front row, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Donovan, you started the year playing your normal position behind or next to a potential first-round pick at Josh, and you guys turned out to be the Remington Trophy winner. Both those guys are gone. You're playing a new position. Tell me what it's been like on the offensive line for you, especially having played the Michigan game and that didn't go well, and now you have a chance to do everything you wanted to do. I mean, what's the mindset of the offensive line right now?
Yeah, I mean, it has been easy. You lose the best center in the country. Everyone knows he's the best center in the country. He's the brain of the operation. He put us in positions to succeed. And obviously you lose Josh Simmons, who was the lockdown tackle. You didn't have to think about who he was going against. You're like, no, Josh got it. We can worry about what we got to do everywhere else, because Josh's going to handle his stuff. So now we got to take a step back and be like, okay, where can we attack to put our guys in the right position? Because what we did before is not what we can do now. And so we got new guys stepping up, playing, and they're playing at a competitive level, but we got to put guys in the right position to succeed for games coming forward. And we didn't execute nearly as well as we wanted to last game, obviously, but it's a beautiful thing about football, beautiful thing about the playoffs, that we have another opportunity to go out there and play.
Austin Ward, podcast. What you think?
Back to, we mentioned in camp, maybe Austin would have to fill in for you in the short term. What advice do you have? Then Zen goes into the lineup. Then Carson comes back in. You have this now with Luke. Is your conversation, advice, communication the same with all four? Have you had to tweak the message? I'm sure you're tired of having to keep going through this process, but are all cases the same? You tell them the exact same message no matter who it is, or different depending on each of those four guys?
Yeah, I've gotten really good at giving motivational speeches this year, but yeah, it's always different. With Zen coming in, we'll start at the beginning with Austin going in. It was like, hey man, you're fine. This is the same game you've been playing, just in front of a lot more people. You've been doing it for a long time. Just keep doing what you're doing. Then when Zen came in, I was like, look, man, I'm here next to you the entire time. You're not doing this alone. Just communicate and we'll be all right. And the message changes varying per position. Everyone takes messages different ways, but the end goals are the same. It's just to play absolute hardest and worry about the result later.
And final question, Tim May, Lettermen Row.
Yeah, I was wondering, Donovan, is there a common theme when you're going against a talented defensive front, like the previous game and in this one with Tennessee, that they may not be as tricky because they're really good players? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, that they can sometimes win one-on-one battles and stuff. Just what has got to be the mindset going against a defensive front like this one?
Yeah, I mean, the defense front we're going against Tennessee is very talented. They rotate a lot of guys, and all those guys can go. They're relentless. They don't give you time to breathe, because once one guy goes in, another guy goes in, and he's just as good as the one that just came out. So the main message is just to strain your butt off, man. You got to win your one-on-ones, like you said. They're gonna play you. They're gonna play their defense, and it's our job to execute our offense. So a lot of respect to their front. I feel like obviously they're very talented guys on that front across the board, from interior to the edges. But we just got to execute what's called to the best of our abilities.
Great. Donovan, thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
I think I saw Will Howard out there, or I got
Just chill.
Hold on one second. now, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch. Sorry about that, Coach.
No problem. We're going to talk to you since the last game. It didn't go the way you expected. When you look at that, what do you think, and how does that shape what you're going to do for this game coming up?
Well, I think this game's different. Every game takes on their own identity, but obviously you go back through your last game all the time and then look at what you did well and then what you didn't do well, and then how do we correct that moving forward. And that's part of the process, and so because there's been so much time between the games, you've had a good chance. You're not allowed to go out on the road and recruit. Normally after your last game, you're on the road and you're scrambling and a lot of different things going on. You actually don't hit the road till January now with a new recruiting schedule. So we've we've dissected the last game, understand what we have to do to play better in that game, because we didn't play at our best. We didn't put our players in position to make the plays that they needed to make in that game, and that falls on us as a coaching staff.
When you watched the way you called the game or analyzed something, what would you change things? What you did?
Yeah, you always change things. I mean, I think if anybody says no, we wouldn't change anything, well, then you'd still lose the game. So that doesn't, I left guys to get bullheaded and no, we did the right thing. We didn't. You always have things back, and that's the same thing in every game we play. You always look back at it and say, what could I have done differently? Sometimes you're winning you're winning games by a lot, but you're still not playing to your best of your ability. So you always got to kind of analyze that and go through it and say, what if we're in this situation again? We were in coming out more than we had been. I think kind of the ebb and flow of that game was different. I think we only had 21 plays of first and second down, and normally you have a lot more than those. We were coming out or going in, a lot of third downs and conversions. So really looking at the situational stuff and do we carry more in those situations so that when they come up, sometimes you look at it statistically, you're only going to be coming out for 3 to 4 plays, but we were down there a lot, in that game. And you probably have to carry more in those situations so that you can execute a little bit better down in those situations. So those are all lessons that you learn after playing a game like that.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
You and Ryan and plenty of coaches have said this, taking what the defense gives you, that's playing smart. But are there times when maybe when you have some of the weapons you have, you can dictate things a little bit more and allow your players to be put in the positions where they can be what you've recruited and developed them to be? Do you feel like you guys did a good job of that against Michigan?
No, we didn't. I think you got to get the ball to those guys. We were really talented on the perimeter, and sometimes people are scheming up to take things away. You're going to play too deep and double cover some guys and force you to kind of play a little bit left-handed. And I think you still have to find ways, and we have to be creative enough that you can still get the ball in those guys' hands.
Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, Chip, you've done this a long time. You've been an assistant, you've been the head coach. After a tough loss like that, how do you keep the team buoyant? How do you keep things from fracturing and, just moving ahead and not sort of sulking, I guess?
Yeah, I think when you look at what is ahead of us, we're one of only 12 teams in the country that has a chance to compete for a national championship. So, that's been the sole focus of the team since the game. I think you understand that we got 2 losses on the season by 4 points combined, but we still have an opportunity to finish the way we want to finish, and that starts with the game this Saturday against Tennessee, and a really good Tennessee team. So every team that's left right now in this tournament is a really good football team. So I think it may have been a different outcome, and I think at times it is a different outcome the way the old system was when only 4 teams made the only top 4 made it with a chance to win the national championship. Now that there's 12, I think that's a little bit of a different mindset that we have to kind of embrace and then say, hey, what do we do now? And the big thing for this group is from the day we've started with our prep from Tennessee, they've been focused on one thing, and that's playing Tennessee. And, we got a whole week of work that we have to continue to go through this week and be ready to play on Saturday night at 8 o'clock.
Is there a grieving process, or you just can't have that with the timing of it all?
I mean, losses hurt everybody, and there's always that process. And I think sometimes it's easier when there's a game immediately, because you can't sulk very long. But, in this one, probably hung with you a little bit longer just because, the last time we played was on November 30th, and now we're not playing until the 20th. So there was a little bit more time in between. But, since we've started back up with our prep from Tennessee, that last game is behind us now, and we got to move forward.
Austin Ward, podcast.
You guys were so productive in those 2-minute drills and pushing the football down the field throughout the course of the year. And we're again against Michigan. That was the bright spot drive. Why is it that you can't just do that all the time?
That's a great question. No, it's football. I mean, it doesn't always happen the way you think it's going to happen, and it doesn't happen the way that it get laid out. You have to be able to adjust because they adjust. If they do the same things that they did at the end of the first half, at the end of the second half, and then you're anticipating that also. You're trying to figure out what they're going to do and what you're going to do, and that's the beauty of the game. You still have to play it out during the game. So. You wish it always worked out that way. We've had some really, really good successful 2-minute drives during the season, but in a situation where we really needed it, we didn't, and that's so you got to go back. What do we call? What was our protection situation? What routes combinations did we run? Where were we? What did they how did they deploy? What was their blitz operation like? What was their pass rush like? What type of coverages are they playing? And then, if we get to that situation again against another team in that same situation, you can, go back to that experience and that we've been through this before. This is kind of how they played us, and I think we're starting to see that again, so we got to make the proper adjustments.
Far left, Jake Trotter, ESPN.
Yeah, Chip, how would you compare the pressure that the head coach at Ohio State faces to anything you've seen in football, and especially after a loss to Michigan? And how's Ryan handling that, like you said, with the playoff and a chance to win the national championship ahead?
Yeah, he's been – obviously it hurts. He understands the weight of what this position is, being the head coach at Ohio State. It's different than probably some other places, as you noted. But I think Ryan's done a great job with it. I think he has to. You always look to your leader, and how does the leader handle it? And I think our players kind of thrive off of him and kind of what his mindset is, and what the magnitude of that game is. But then our ability to move on, because there are other games. And like we said, we have an opportunity to play 4 more if we do what we're supposed to do. So. I think he's done a really good job with it. It is a difficult situation, but I think he's the man, and he's done a great job with it.
Right behind him, Steve Hellwagon, 24/7 Sports.
Hey, Coach, after the Michigan game, a lot was made that you guys netted something like 20 yards on 18 running plays between the guard gaps, whatever it was. Can a play caller get into a rut sometimes, or was there something that you saw on film that you thought that was going to be a vulnerable part of their offense to attack? And I guess spin that forward for Tennessee. It seems like they're very similar.
Yeah, a play caller can get into a rut. That's a very valid point. I think sometimes you kind of go in with the mindset you have to establish a run to win a football game. Maybe that's not the case. Sometimes you got to kind of go away from some of the norms and say, hey, maybe if we throw it a little bit more in hindsight after you go through it, and say maybe we could have done this a little bit differently, because you're always going to go back through it. There's not a time when we've played a game and you're going back through and say, man, we played the perfect game. You've never played the perfect game, never called the perfect game. So you're always looking at how do we improve and how do we make this better. You're right. I think Tennessee they're 5th nationally defensively in both scoring and total defense, the number 1 third down defense in the country, number 1 red zone defense in the country. So we're playing a really formidable defensive group coming in here that's really well coached, and they've got good players at all 3 levels. So that's going to be a challenge for us again this week, and our players are excited about that opportunity.
After the hit on Howard, did you have the same confidence in him? Because there were a couple 3rd downs, 3rd and long after that, where you ran the ball coming out and also going in the red zone. And he didn't seem like the same player after that big hit.
Yeah, we always have confidence in Will. I think, he's the leader of our team on the offensive side of the ball, and has had a tremendous season. And I think sometimes those 3rd and extra long situations, whether it be coming out, you're trying to protect the ball. You don't want to turn it over in that situation. Give your punter a little bit more opportunity to play the field position game and get the ball past midfield, and knowing that we have a really good defense and we're confident when we put them back on the field. And then sometimes like the one in the it was a draw play on a 3rd and long, which is sometimes is a normal call against a pass rush team. And then, we were just short on it.
Right behind him, Pat 40, Sports Illustrated.
Chip, you mentioned coming out and going in. Is that the traditional red zones? Is that 0 to 20, or is that a different yard perimeter?
Yeah, 0 to 20. And we were coming out more than we've been in most games. And then we also had a few opportunities inside the red zone, and we got to capitalize there. We talked to our we know all the time that, no STPs, no sacks, no turnovers, no penalties down there. We got to come away with points. And we didn't come away with enough points, obviously.
How much of game plan is dictated by that sort of field position?
It's all based upon really the data of how many reps a game over the course of a long time. So, over the course of a 12-game season, how many red zone plays are you going to have? You're averaging about 68 plays a game, in college football right now. So out of those 68 plays, they all fall into different situations. There's 1.5 third and longs in a game, but then sometimes you're going to get in a game where you have 5 third and longs, but you're also going to get into a game where you don't have any third and longs. So over the course of the season, it averages out to this amount of snaps per game based on 68, because that's what the average is in the NCAA. We know what the average is in the NCAA. We know what the average is in the NFL, and you kind of go through it. But then there are going to be games where you have the ball a lot more in the red zone than normally. Then there's other times where you're going to have the ball a lot more coming out than normally, because your defense has done a great job and kind of, held up down there and got some really big stops in a red area. Well, then we got to go back on the field offensively, and now we got to go the long distance. So it's over the course of the season, it'll iron itself out in terms of the reps. But in that game, just specifically, we were at a lot more coming outs and a lot more red zones than we were in regular first and second down, and that's not normal in a normal game.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Chip, looking at the way Will play, he's been efficient throughout this year, high completion percentage, low turnovers until Michigan. What do you think went wrong for him in some of those moments against Michigan, and sort of how did you look back on it?
We always look back at it from my perspective. So I think I got to do a better job of putting Will in position to make plays. That's how I always look at it. So, and I didn't do that against them.
How would you have done that, or what about those situations were challenging for him?
Excuse me, say that one again.
What about, you said put him in position to make plays better? What about those?
I think the one time when we threw the one pick on the 16-yard line, we were in 7-man protection, so we had 2 guys in protection, only 3 guys out on the route. So maybe we could have gone to a 5-man release, get more guys out into the coverage, so that we could spread the defense out a little bit more. So there's one example.
And final questions, Tim May, Lettermen Row.
Thank you, Jerry. Coach, I think a lot of us expect to see a little bit more 2-man running back, your two Trey and Quinshon in the game, a lot more than I've seen them this year. I mean, I'm not second guessing that stuff, but if y'all looked at that aspect of the running game too, of showing a little more variety, I know there's more stew in the pot, I would think even at this point, but I know it sounds like a basic question, but I'm just wondering what your thinking is there.
No, it's not a basic question, but they both basically play the same position. So neither one of those guys is a fullback. So we're not you're not going to line up Trey at fullback and Q at tailback, or vice versa. So that's not, sometimes when people talk about 2-back offenses, one guy is a fullback and one guy is a tailback, where both of those guys are basically tailbacks. So they both kind of play the same position. And then we're really a 1-back offense, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end as our base personnel, 11 personnel in the game. So we change it up a little bit. We get into some 12, we get into some 13. We'll get into a little bit of 20. They've been in a few times together, but not as much. But the other thing is that when both of those guys are in the game at the same time, when they need a blow, then who are you sending into the game also? So, depth sometimes is a factor when you're making those determinations of, what personnels are we going to deploy in against the teams that we're playing. What is the evidence that when you put 21 in the game against this team, you're going to elicit this type of defense? How are they going to play it and what are they going to do? So I'm making personnel decisions at the beginning of a week in terms of putting stuff into a game plan really is based upon what has this defense done versus 21 personnel or 20 personnel leading up into this game, and what can we anticipate that they will play if we put these 2 guys in at the same time.
Yeah, quick follow. But you're going against a talent, like you said, a very talented defense. It looks like, definitely on video. How important is it, and this is another basic question, to show stuff you haven't shown before in a basic sense?
Yeah, I don't know. I do understand what you're saying, but I don't think you go into it to show. We need to show things we haven't shown before. We need to show things that are productive. So I could line up some really wacky formations next Saturday night, but if they don't gain a yard, it doesn't matter what it looks like. What's the most important thing is the productivity, and are we gaining positive yards? Are we efficient on first down so that we can get into workable third down situations and then continue to get drives going? And I think with this group, if we can usually when we get that first down, then we can start moving the football and start playing at our pace and our tempo and kind of what we want to do to dictate the course of the game. But changing personnel is part of that, and there's opportunities to do some of that stuff.
We do have one final question, Bill Landis, Kings of the North.
Chip, on the subject of just running it inside, not super efficiently against Michigan, how much of that was they have really good defensive tackles, maybe it's a bad matchup, or do you need to rethink at all how you guys run the ball now that you're on version like 4 or 5 of your offensive line?
Yeah, I think you always have to play to the strengths of what your players can do. But it also is part of who you're playing also. You know, they did have 2 really talented inside players. They also have 2 really talented defensive ends that I don't think get enough credit. And if you look at the statistics from both of those guys on the field and their ability to set edges is part of the decision there. So you're always trying to put your players in position to make plays, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Is it hard to change? If you have to, I don't want to speak for you, but if you have to somewhat significantly change the way that you run the ball, sort of like what you hang your hat on based on your offensive line person, how difficult is that to do it on the fly, like in the middle of the season, or even now when you have 2.5 weeks to prepare? Is it still difficult to change that kind of thing on the fly when you have 12 games of a body of work building?
That's just how it works. You know, when you lose players, you got to see who you're adding. When you lose a Seth and you lose a Jimmy, you know, and then what are their strengths, and then how do we play to those strengths and be able to take advantage of them. But you can't ask them to do things that maybe Jimmy and Seth did because they're not Jimmy and Seth. But that doesn't mean you're not going to come up with a game plan. You know, you're always going to figure it out, and we're going to get a chance to, you know, the longer they get to play together, the more continuity that they have, you know, where Donnie feels really comfortable, you know, out of tackle, and he's done a great job. The transition that he's made going from guard to tackle is, even though it's one spot over, it's an entirely new position. So, you know, what Carson has done stepping in and doing a really good job at center, you know, stepped in the Penn State game, played guard, then had to jump in and go play center. But, you know, I think everybody that's involved in this playoff right now understands it. You know, for us to win it all, we got to play 4 more games. You know, and so to think that no one else is going to get injured in those next 4 games is, you know, you're either burying your head in the sand. So we got to be prepared for it, and we got to be ready to go. And I think the team that can handle the attrition part of this the best may end up being the team that wins the whole thing. So, you know, we've been aware of that since it started. We knew it's either going to be a 16 or 17 game schedule, you know, to win the whole thing. So you got to go with what you got, and we'll continue to look for things that we can do to help those players out. And it's on us to put those guys in position to make plays, because these guys have practiced their tails off and are excited about this opportunity about playing Tennessee.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, we're going to open the floor for quarterback Will Howard, front row. Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Well, you're going to have possibly a new configuration on the offensive line this week. Ryan said that Luke's going to at least be in the rotation. What's it been like to play behind all these different alignments, all these different configurations, and how much faith do you have that whatever you guys, the 5 you put out Saturday is going to be good enough?
I got all the faith in the world in those guys, man. And no matter who it is, I don't care. You know, they're all here for a reason, and, you know, they have to remember that, like, you know, they're Buckeyes at the end of the day. And man, like, it doesn't matter who's out there, who's playing. Like, we've all been through the fire together. We all did mat drills together. We all, you know, I have all the faith in the world in those guys. And no matter what, no matter who it is out there, just got to make sure we're playing with confidence, playing fast, playing physical, and just go and attack, because this is all we have left, man. Like, this is it. We can't leave anything out there. So, no, I got all the faith in those guys. They've been dealt a pretty tough hand this year, you know, with all the injuries and the shuffling around they've had to do. You know, I don't think Donnie would have expected that he was going to be playing tackle this year. You know, Carson's playing guard and center. A lot of different things have happened, but, you know, just being able to weather the storm and try and, you know, figure out, you know, what we need to work on and do it and come out and prove everyone wrong. I'm excited for those guys. I think they have a heck of an opportunity in front of them. You know, I'm excited for Luke, whoever's out there. I got all the faith in the world in them. I'm not worried about that at all.
Third row left, Dan Hope, Lebanon Warriors.
So you mentioned this is all we have left. I mean, for those guys who have been here 4 or 5 years and this is the end of their careers, how much just do you feel driven to want to win this for them?
Yeah, I mean, I could say the same thing about myself. Like I've been playing college football for 5 years now, and this is all I have left. Like I have, 4 games max left in my college career. So, I mean, there's no other option than to just empty the tank and leave it all out here, because this is all we have left as college athletes. No, Ohio State or not, like this is it. And I mean, I'm just excited to finish it the right way, because we have such a good group of guys, man, and we have such an unbelievable team that we have here. It's a special group, and we can't go out any other way than win it at all. Like that's the way that I see it, man. I want this for this team so bad.
Right behind him, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Sort of on that note, you came here with the goal of winning a national championship. Obviously, the journey may not have gone exactly how you hoped, but that opportunity is still there for you. How much, you in particular, is that motivation to still have this opportunity in the expanded plan?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we're playing for, man. This is a new season. It's the playoffs, and the fact of the matter is, if we don't beat Tennessee, none of it matters. So we're worried about Tennessee right now, man, and we'll look forward after this game. But this is the most important thing, is beating Tennessee, because once you get the first win, you're able to pick up some momentum. But without winning the first one, nothing matters. So we got to beat Tennessee.
Right next door, Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Will, how much better equipped are you guys right now to play in the cold than you were in the last game?
I don't know. I mean, it's cold out here, so I don't think that that's a worry for us. We practice in the cold. I mean, I guess you could say we've had a little more practice in the cold, just because I think honestly this year, like, just didn't really get that cold until maybe the up north game. And I mean, I don't think there's anything in particular, but we practice in it every single day. I've played in very cold conditions, so it's something we're used to.
Right next door, Stefan Kreisny, Cleveland.com.
Donovan was talking a bit about Seth and kind of the role he's had while he's not been playing. I mean, he's someone who's got playoff experience, has played against Tennessee in years past. Just how much has he kind of been able to add these last few weeks, even though he's not, out on the field?
Yeah, obviously we miss Seth out on the field, but you can still feel him in the room, and he's a coach, man. He's transitioned into kind of a player coach almost at this point. And he's just one of those guys that wants to contribute any way he can. And I know he's hurting. He wants to be out there. So, at the end of the day, he's doing everything he can with the position that, the tough, hand he's been dealt. He's got to, go out there and try and help us in any way he can. And that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to impact it from a different perspective, maybe more of a guy who has experience, and a guy who can give us advice and give us little tidbits here and there, and still encourage the guys and be that force that he's been all year. And I think he's doing a great job of that.
How much was he kind of able to help you and Carson specifically? Because you didn't play with Carson last year. How much was Seth kind of just tendencies and things like that able to help Carson and you become full play together?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Carson and I had gotten a lot of reps together through the spring and through the fall camp. So it wasn't necessarily a not familiar thing. It was more of just getting used to how this ball is coming back, or communicating a little differently. But Seth was still involved in all those conversations and all of our protection meetings and anything like that. He's still involved. And like I said, he's trying to be a player coach and help out in any way he can. And he's definitely trying to, help Carson out any way he can. But Carson's played a lot of ball, and he understands it too. So I think the two of them being able to kind of collaborate has helped.
Right behind him, Cameron T. Robinson, The Athletic.
Will, Ryan mentioned how important your leadership will be on Saturday. I'm curious, since that loss, how you've rallied, not only rallied yourself, but helped rally this group over the last couple weeks to get ready for the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard, I'm not going to lie, but yeah, my ability to push this team and to lead this team in this game is going to be crucial. And I know that. And, I think that, if we can maintain that edge that we had, I think really in that Indiana game, and just come out there and I need to be the one that sparks that, and I need to make sure that I'm bringing that all game, and that's going to be crucial. So I get that.
You talk about that. How do you do that both leading up to the game, but also doing it in the game where maybe you guys might be in a rut, and maybe you might be in a rut, but you feel like you need to spark something?
I don't know if there's one answer to that question. It's really just an energy that you bring and that look in your eye. That's kind of how I try to lead, is just, by bringing everybody's energy up, bringing the vibes up, whatever it is during the week of practice, making sure everybody's flying around to practice. And then during the game, just staying on everyone and making sure that, I'm just positive reinforcement, whatever it is, staying on those guys and making sure that they hear me all game, no matter what, no matter if it's good or bad, and being positive all game.
Right next door, Spencer Holbrook, Lettermen Row.
A lot of what we've heard about this playoff run is that you guys need to play loose, fast, free, things of that nature. What does that mean for that? I mean, playing loose is usually used as like a bad term. What does it mean for you to go out there and, I don't know, it's let it rip or...
Who's been saying that?
Heard Ryan mention that, play loose.
Yeah, I was just asking. I just hadn't heard that yet. I don't listen to anything, but I guess playing loose for me is really just kind of not thinking about things and letting it rip. Just having my feet underneath of me, making good decisions with the football, and also kind of just letting the game come to me and not forcing things to happen. I think that's really, when we're able to get the ball out on the perimeter and I'm able to get the ball in our playmakers' hands and have a high completion percentage, I think that's when we have a lot of success. So if I'm able to distribute the ball early and get the ball into our playmakers' hands, I think that for me is, I guess, playing loose.
Got time for just a few more. Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, Coach Day said you are very resilient, that you move ahead very well. How much Michigan is still in you?
It hurts, man. I'm not gonna lie. We all still feel it, but we moved on. We're moved on now.
How do you do that? Is it what's ahead of you? You just
Yeah.
sort of close that off?
Yep.
And how do you, I imagine in situations like after that game, the brotherhood gets tested in offense versus defense. How do you weather that stuff and come together, sort of stay together and not splinter?
You gotta talk, and you gotta work the issues out, and I think we did. And we came in here and we talked, and we hashed some things out, and it brings you together. You have to work the issues out, and I think we discussed some things, and we talked about it and how we're going to be able to finish this thing the right way. And I think keeping in our minds that everything is still in front of us has been the biggest thing that we're clinging to. And just saying, listen, we can still go out here and win a national championship and right the wrongs that happened in that game. Like, obviously we don't get a chance to play them again, but we can still go win the whole thing, and that's what we're trying to cling to right now.
Did it get pretty intense?
I mean, no, yeah, yes, it was. It was tough. It sucked. Yeah.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
You wear your emotions on your sleeve a lot. You don't really hide them very well. Even right now, you're getting frustrated answering questions about Michigan in this moment. Ryan always talks about execution fueling emotion. And it seems like with you sometimes it can be the other way around. How do you channel that? How have you learned to channel that emotion where, yeah, you're frustrated here, but when it's time to go execute, you're still able to do that, which is clearly what's going to have to happen.
Yeah, it's experience, man, and just doing it. And I feel like you kind of have to do it the wrong way to learn how to do it the right way. I don't know if that makes any sense, but, in my times at K-State, early in my career, there would be times where, I threw a pick and I immediately just down, plummet, and my play plummets. And, I think really the only way to learn that is to go through it. And I've just gone through it so many times. I've felt the ups and downs, the peaks and the valleys of college football. And, I've really said to myself, like, listen, I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to be perfect. There's always going to be something that goes wrong in a game. It's about how you come back from that. And you can't let one thing, one mistake, one loss, you can't let that mess everything else up, because that's when the real problems start. And that's when the real problem started for me early in my career, was when I let those little mistakes that I made in practice or during games or whatever it may be, when I let that affect me down the road, that was when the problems really started. So yeah, man, like going back, like that game, it sucked. It was terrible for all of us, terrible loss. But man, we can't let them beat us twice. We can't. And that's how I've kind of just through my journey in college, I've learned that, it's better to use that as motivation and to come back from it and to try and challenge myself to be better and rely on my intrinsic confidence and not listen to what everyone else is saying. And at the end of the day, just going out there and continuing to have the routine every single day. And when you have a routine, it makes things a little bit easier, but you still feel it. You still feel it, but you got to move forward, man.
But not beating you twice, you mean mentally.
Yes, mentally. Exactly.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Well, as you look back on that loss and reviewed it, what did you learn from it? What did you take away, just the way you played and kind of the way you can move forward?
What have I learned? Can't turn the ball over. And we're moved on, man. We're moved on.
And physically, how have you been since
Good.
that game?
Yep, feel good.
We'll wrap it up. Tim May, Lettermen Row.
Yeah, I was wondering, as you look at a defense like Tennessee's, kind of like Michigan's and stuff, explain to people who don't get to stand where you stand and see stuff. Do you just see smaller windows, both in the running game and the passing game? You understand what I'm saying? You have to be more
Not
crisp.
really, no.
Well, meaning they've got good defenders. I mean,
yeah, they do.
They're going to be on top of wide receivers. The creases that were there against Marshall aren't going to be there against Michigan in the run game a lot and stuff. I mean, so I guess how precise do you have to be in your decision making, et cetera? Coming up Saturday night.
Yeah, I feel like. Can you just rephrase that one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, in other words, how quickly do you have to be on? You have to assimilate what you're seeing and make your decisions.
Yeah, everything happens a
You're
little
still
quicker. Yeah, I get what. Okay, yeah, like everything happens a little quicker in games like that. Yeah. And when you're playing against teams of this caliber, you can't let one thing mess up a play. Like little details matter even more. Like you can't let a guy maybe come inside on a block or blow up a bubble play. They're going to be a little quicker. And I think number 3, their corner's a really good player. I think their defensive front is unbelievable. I think they've got some really stout guys inside. They're a little harder to move for the O linemen. So whether it's getting some double teams on those guys or finding some ways to move them or slow them down. There's different things that go into it schematically. But at the end of the day, you're still playing ball, and I don't really think about it that much. I mean, maybe the windows are a little tighter, but at the end of the day, football is football, and you got to execute the plays that are in front of us. So whether it's whoever it is or Tennessee, I just know that in these playoffs, everything's going to be turned up a little bit. And everyone always tells me, in the NFL, there's 3 seasons. There's the preseason, the middle of the season, and then the playoffs. And everything just gets faster. And I assume, this is the first playoffs I'm playing in, but I've played in the postseason before, and it's different. It's a different speed. So definitely gonna need to be on our stuff a little more.
And despite the plays that are called, do you have it in your mind that ultimately you're the guy? I mean, who finally makes the play? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, Patrick Mahomes running around, guys that can make plays off of plays and stuff. You have to always keep that in your mind that it's finally up to you.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I have the chalk last, and I'm the one out there that we talk about all the time. I'm the run game coordinator. I can make some things right that maybe aren't perfect. And the thing is we may have a play drawn up for some coverage, and they're gonna run a different coverage, and you got to take a check down, and you got to throw it away. And it's just those little things, managing the game and not making forcing things to happen or things that I used to do at K-State. I remember this one play in particular at K-State when I was playing Oklahoma State. Called this play for cover 2. They go cover 3. I still throw it, pick. It's like I just tried to make something happen, and I was like, oh, we're calling this play to throw this ball, and I still threw it. But here, being able to recognize, hey, they went cover 3, just take a check down. Like, just move on. Next play. And that's really what the biggest thing is like staying on schedule, not making those mistakes that can put you behind the sticks or potentially turn the ball over. That's the biggest thing for me And I know in these playoffs, taking care of the football is going to be paramount.
Will, thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Go Bucks.
All right, folks, we've got to be up. We got to be out.